Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PSGL for the F3 League. We're heading to the business end of the championship now. 3 races in the Americas to finish it off. But before that, tonight we will see who delights under the lights at the Bahrain International Circuit. Round 11 out of 14. It is the Bahrain Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Alongside me, once again, is Sam Thompson. And if anything last race is to go by, we might still have a slim chance of actually seeing a championship battle, because it was the first time, really, we saw Kalsberg get beat on track when the McLaren driver hasn't made a mistake.
Yeah, but it's very, very slim. You're looking at 31 points here. 31 points in 4 races. And obviously, if you're new to PSGL and you're tuning in for the first time, the point system is different. It's not your typical F1 with 25 points, 18 points, 15 points. If you win a race, it's 16 points in PSGL. So you've got to think that Ginger technically has to win half his races to even stand a chance against Kalsberg. And he would need to hope for Kalsberg to obviously make mistakes. And with the tracks coming up and with the confidence that Kalsberg has, I just don't really see that happening. But there's still a chance, like you said, and I suppose if Ginger can have a really good end to the season, which he's on track for doing, I think we could be seeing a chance for a title fight, but it's very, very slim.
It is slim, but while you've got that chance, it is always worth fighting for. He has had 3 podiums in a row. Ginger, last time out in China, it was a win from pole position. We all thought the alternate strategy might be the one to be on, and it nearly proved to be the case. Kalsberg coming from 16th. He was right on the back of Ginger when the safety car came out, and that really scuppered his chances. He had 3 laps after the safety car, but Ginger managing to hold on. And we saw a great podium as well for Ferreira. He decided to not pit under the safety car and was rewarded with his first podium of the season. What that all means for the championship is Kalsberg is still in the lead, 112 points, 31 points ahead of Ginger, so he can't win it tonight, even if he wins and gets the fastest lap. Then you've got Black Phoenix on 63, Zach 53, Lars rounding out the top 5 on 51 points. Unsurprisingly, McLaren also with a pretty healthy lead in the Constructors, 41 points ahead of the Alfa Romeo team. We're getting ready for qualifying now. And a bit like China, Sam, this is another circuit where we've seen sometimes the alternate strategy can be really powerful around here.
Well, we do know that about the tyre wear around this track, it's very high. The tyre temp's also very high. You've got to think we're in the desert, and before I say anything, the strategy is always going to be to do with dry tyres. So we're never going to see rain around this track. It's basically virtually impossible, but yeah, the tyre temperatures, they're very high. The track degradation is very high at this track as well. Most people will be looking for the soft hards if you do start on the softs. However, many people would possibly like to favour that medium hard strategy or the hard medium strategy, which has been proven to be good over the last couple of races. But this track is very similar to China in the way that your tyres get roasted here as much as China does, but they're not. It's not obviously the same track, and it's more of an exciting open track. But because of the temperatures in the air and the temperatures on track, this is going to be a very tricky one for the drivers.
Yeah, definitely. One benefit of it now being a night race in Bahrain 2014, they did it for the first time as a sort of a one-off, really, and they decided they might as well keep it because everyone enjoyed it so much. We had that classic race between the Mercedes drivers, Hamilton and Rosberg, where they actually sort of got on still after the race, despite a battle out on track, but that only lasted a few months longer after that. So you don't get the effect of the sun heating up the track, which I'm sure the drivers will be quite happy with. Can't see anyone going for the Kalsberg tactic of maybe trying to get through qualifying on the medium tyres, because the tyre wear is not quite as critical as it is at China. The alternate strategy not quite as powerful, but you never know. Someone who's naturally going to start outside of the top 10 might give it a try. I mean, we saw in esports the alternate strategy worked out absolutely brilliantly for Jarno Opmeer. I know it's 35%, so it'll be slightly different tyre wear. No reason why it can't tonight, and a few drivers seem to be heading out to track early. We've got D-Screen leading the queue, then Van der Bruggen, 2 Ferraris, Zach and Anossia Thyman making his debut as a reserve driver, replacing Super Mario tonight. I got a feeling we're going to get a really good race around here. DRS, extremely powerful, especially the first 2 DRS zones.
Yeah, most certainly, of course. The start feels straight down to turn 1. very long straight on the back straight there, and a very good opportunity to make some overtaking moves. Obviously, out of turn 3 as well. That like you said, the first 2 DRS straights are very crucial for drivers where you can really make overtakes. The third DRS straight, you can make overtakes, however, when you're on that inside, you have to make sure you're ahead of the car on the outside, otherwise, really, the move isn't really on, and perhaps you make yourself look a bit like a fool at some point. So, very, very tricky round, very easy to overtake round here, very tricky corners, though, to overtake in the third DRS, and obviously, not only that, you have that straight on the back straight just before the start-finish straight as well. That's not DRS, so that's obviously going to be lining up to the start-finish straight. And really, if you want to really get moves done, it has to be in those first 2 DRS straights on the final lap if you want to win this race, say it comes down to that.
Yeah, you will see a few drivers just hanging back on that penultimate straight then to make sure they get DRS down the pit straight, which is where D-Screen is now 1 kilometre long, heavy braking then into turn 1, just locking up that right front ever so slightly, but manages to make the corner. Coming through 2 and 3, DRS activated once again as you head towards turn 4. Go as far over to the left of the track as you dare. Make sure you keep all 4 tyres, or at least 2 of them, on the race track though, to avoid invalidating your time. Now through 5 and 6 and 7, it's very easy here to run wide and then just get killed by the curb on the exit. Downhill braking zone into turn 8. In normal circumstances, you might think that's a tricky braking zone. It is nothing compared to 9 and 10. One of the trickiest on the F1 game. Turning and braking, you'll see plenty of lockups and plenty of cars running wide through there in the race as their tyres begin to wear out. DRS open once again as we head to turn 11. Like Sam said, a bit of an overtaking opportunity. Not really enough of a braking zone to make it dead certain though. Coming through 12 and 13, you need to be careful once again about the curb on the inside there, because you can easily lead to the car spinning round as you head your car through turn 13 now. This penultimate straight just leading up to this double apex final corner. 14 and 15 means you can afford to go a bit deeper on the brakes and take that later apex as D-Screen heads towards the finish line now. DRS open in the Haas. What's it going to be from him? 125.305. Pretty respectable first run from the Haas drivers. Fabry goes fastest on a 125.0. Extremely close qualifying times between F2 and F4 tonight. F2 managed a 124.4. F3 managed a 124. Managed a 124.5. So anything in the mid 124s is going to be a really good lap time and possibly really hard to beat.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm very surprised about those low times. I didn't really see who got pole in F2. I know either F4, but they seem very low in my opinion. We're looking at the guys in F1 looking for .4s and .3s in that one. However, in F3, it leaves some sort of a strange benchmark because I wouldn't really expect us to be down that low, but as it looks like right now, going by the initial laps, we could be seeing that, and that is Lars in the wall there.
I think that's that turn 7 curb I mentioned.
Oh, yeah, that is a very bumpy curb. If you get that completely wrong on everything, and you've got a low ride height as well, you're going to really feel that, and that's going to really put your car in a really bad position. You continue to push on that as well, then that's you in the wall and out of the session, as we've seen with Lars. But this isn't the first time we've seen Lars make mistakes like this, or have errors like this, but...
Oh, we've seen another one there. Gabry's in the wall. Just caught the on-board of that. That's actually coming out of turn 8. So we've already had 2 retirements. We're only 5 minutes into this qualifying session. That just looked to me like a bit of a heavy right foot, not straight enough, and just straight into the barrier. So Lars and Gabry are out. And like you said with Lars, we seem to mention it at least once a week, usually after halfway point of the race, about Lars making some mistake that robs him of a chance of getting a podium or a victory.
Yeah, well, it's quite bad, really, in some sense, because Lars could have been so much higher in this championship. He sees himself now, if my thing was to work properly, he sees himself now in like 5th in the championship. You got to think, he could have won multiple races this season, he could have got multiple podiums this season, and he just hasn't. And he came in this season, if you were seen in the chats and everything, he came into the season looking so confident. He does a lot of practice for these races and he takes dedication in these races, but I think when it comes to the actual thing, he just kind of falls under it a little bit. Maybe loses his temper perhaps, or maybe just falls under a bit of pressure in some sense as well. But I think with Lars at the moment, he just needs to calm down going into the actual thing, because in the practice sessions, he looks like he could be a real front runner here and a real prospect to win a championship. But in the actual thing, he just looks like another midfielder most weekends, and well, that's just disappointing and not what you want to see, really. And for Lars, he's out again, and he will be starting, well, 16th or 17th, I would assume, if obviously Kalzo doesn't bottle it. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say, if I'm honest, about Lars, but he just needs to find his rhythm, and hopefully he gets one win this season.
Yeah, he's shown some fantastic pace. It would actually be you'd have been surprised at the start of the season, given the fact that he was actually took part in a few F1 races last year, and he did show fantastic pace. He's crossed the finish line first 3 times. Let's not forget, but penalties have cost him on each occasion. Does look like it's going to be a tough evening for Mercedes tonight. Lars, we know, at best is going to be qualifying 16th, and Cohen has a 5-second time penalty added onto the time for this race after the safety car debacle that you might remember me and Sam cringing at ever so slightly last time in China between him and Zach, where there was that overtake under the safety car. We know it causes a glitch, and the drivers have been told by the stewards, just get on with it, accept the 5-second penalty, and then we'll remove it at the end of the race if you don't make a pit stop. But do not overtake anyone under any circumstances if you can avoid it. Hopefully we won't get any safety cars tonight, but given the fact that we've already seen 2 crashes in qualifying, you've got to say it is a possibility around here, especially that braking zone into turn 1 on lap 1 can cause a bit of chaos. Black Phoenix just getting a bit of a slide on coming out of the final corner. I think that's why he's decided to abandon that lap and come into the pit lane. So most of the drivers have managed to get their first run done, and as has been the case 5 times previously this season, it's Kalsper at the moment looking like the fastest with 10 minutes to go. Thyman in second, Ginger up there in third, Fabry fourth, Zach in fifth. And Zach did go on a bit of a run in the middle of the season when he got that win in Spain and a podium either side, but he's been another driver where the last few races just haven't quite worked out as well as he'd have hoped, because we thought he could really be in that battle for second in the championship. He's now 28 points off of Ginger.
For every single driver this season, excluding Kalsper, there's been a serious amount of inconsistency. All we've just experienced spells of drivers really having a good spell and then just dropping off completely. We look at Ginger right now, but he hasn't really shown much pace in the rest of the season. We've kind of seen Black Phoenix be like it again. He's getting podiums, but he's also getting DNFs or being outside the points as well. We saw it, like you said, with Zach as well. He went on a bit of a run earlier in the season. We were like, oh, is Zach going to be challenging Kalsper? And in the end, he's just ended up falling back to the midfield where he started. And it's the same for most drivers this season. We've seen with Lars, really, in the last couple of performances. We haven't really seen race-winning performances, while at the start of the season, he still was a hot favourite to win races and win the championship. But it's an interesting one this season, because excluding Kalsper, there's been a lot of inconsistency for who's been finishing second and who's been getting victories.
Yeah, one thing that has been fairly constant this season is when we get reserves in, they seem to be pretty decent, and Fabry and Thyman proving that at the moment. The Williams going fastest, then Kalsper's actually invalidated his next lap, so we won't be seeing any improvements from him. Both of the Alfa Romeos are out on track. They're currently second in the championship and trying to see if they can improve. Kazizel is going to have to get out of the way of Just Call Me Bread, another reserve in the Alfa Tauri. Does that mean we just call me Bread, or do we just call you Bread? Bread is coming around the final couple of corners now. Let's see what he can do. Currently in 12th place at the moment, just behind his teammate. Is this going to be an improvement? Indeed it is. Only gets him up to 10th. We've got one of the racing points coming around the final corners now. They are just on an outlap. Pitmat, sole full-time Renault driver tonight. And Renault, another team, we said that this last week, at the start of the season, Pitmat and Cherry Tupai looked really good, and for one reason or another, just getting involved in incidents, because they've sort of been in that midfield pack all the time, where you really can get caught out by incidents, as Pitmat goes up to 9th. It just hasn't come together for them, because after the first race of the season and the pre-season race, I thought these guys could challenge for the Constructors' title alongside with McLaren.
I'm pretty sure that we were actually thinking this, of course, finishing P3 and P4 at the start of the season. But for Cherry Tupai, he's had a lot of DNFs this season. 4 DNFs there. He's only had one finish other than that podium of being in the points. And You wonder, how has it all gone wrong for such experienced teammates as well? Experienced a lot of seasons in PSGL and everything. I don't understand really what went wrong for Cherry Tupai. Pitmat, he's been consistent, he just hasn't been where he was at the start of the season either. I think really at the start of the season it was a game of catch-up for everyone else on those who were leading at the top. And those guys are catched up, but I don't think the Renault drivers have. They failed to do so, and, well, this is kind of their punishment, really. 8th in the Constructors, and none of them nowhere near where perhaps at the start of the season we would have predicted them to be.
No, which is a shame for them, so we'll have to see what they can do tonight. Pitmat is currently in 10th place, stays there as Ginger. Another driver to get into the 124.7, slots in between Fabry and Cohen. This is looking like a pretty decent qualifying session. At the moment, we've got to say 6 drivers within a 10th of a second. You can't really ask for too much more than that. And then you've got obviously Toxic's not too far back. Zach, also another driver in the 1 minute 24s. One of the Haas drivers coming around the final corner now. That is VRT Boss Wanted. Can he manage to find his way up into the top 10? He's had 2 4th places so far this season. Just sneaks into 10th position at the moment. Does look like it's going to be a very close qualifying session, and Ginger will be happy about the fact that at the moment he's 3 places ahead of Kalsper. Still another run at least you'd expect for most of these drivers, so that could change, but he'd be feeling pretty good about that. Even though they're really close in time, those 3 places could make a big difference in the first few laps.
Yeah, they really, really could, and I'll tell you something now, if Kalsper doesn't get his final run right, this could be very crucial for his championship. 5th place is not where he would want to be, and well, look at that. He's got the exact same time as Kazizel there, which is interesting. Very close, it looks like, between all these drivers, though. So anybody could really take pole from, I suppose, Fabry all the way down to Zach, I reckon, because although I think Ferreira and Boss Wanted perhaps haven't put the best times possible in, and I think Ferreira's on a lap right now, but he's coming towards the line, so what's he going to set? Oh, he's coming into the pits anyway. So it doesn't matter, but I think more interestingly, Ginger again, very good performance in qualifying so far, up in 2nd place, and he want to get that pole position again. He is thirsty for victories, and if he keeps this up, he really, really could be starting to give Kalsper a little bit of a chill. But the thing is, Kalsper has been so consistent this season, you don't really see it happening. However, a simple incident in that midfield, and we know how likely a safety car or incidents happen at this track. A simple mistake from Kalsper could see him in the wall. He could just see a safety car ruin his race and ruin his strategy. And if Ginger really wins this race and Kalsper has a really poor result, the fight is really on towards the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Ginger, the only man, apart from Kalsper, to have multiple wins. The only man, apart from Kalsper, to have multiple pole positions. As one of the Alpha Tauris is heading out on track, which is a good thing to see, as it got very quiet during that qualifying session. It is Svanderburg at the moment. Interestingly, Black Phoenix hasn't set a time yet, and it's showing that he's now going for the medium tyres, so wonder if he feels maybe a bit more confident on them, or feels that it's not worth risking it on the soft tyres. Obviously just pushing a bit harder and a bit faster through some of the corners might feel as though he'll make a mistake. 3 minutes 30 to go though in this session. Fabry, Ginger, Cohen, Thyman, Kalsper, your top 5 at the moment. Wouldn't surprise me if we see a few more changes of the order as we go around the session. Kazizel, like we said, is in 6th position. Showed great pace in his first race as a reserve. It's just for whatever reason he's been a bit unlucky in the last few races, just getting involved in incidents. He had that spin last time out after the safety car came in China. In Japan, him and Lars nearly had a huge crash, which somehow didn't involve either of them retiring. You feel like if Kazizel can just avoid that bad luck a bit, because we know Toxic as well, he's sort of in a similar category. These second drivers for the top 2 teams at the moment, it might come down to whichever one of these starts putting in the results, could well get a Constructors' Championship battle as well.
Yeah, and I think for Kazizel, he'll just be looking about getting as close to Ginger as possible. I think really he's going to be trying to aid his teammate. This is if they are obviously in communication with each other, which I'm hopeful that they are anyway, because that's what teams are meant to be. But he came in mid-season, so who knows. But at the moment, I think for the teammate battle, it's just about really, if similar to Ginger on Kalsper in any sense of the question, it's just if Alfa Romeo could just beat out McLaren each week. And Well, Toxic has been having those poor performances through, I guess, being unlucky or just not having the pace. Kalsper's been delivering them, but now Ginger's delivering, because Zizzle needs to start delivering as well, and he needs to stop having these mistakes of getting into incidents, because it just will not help their battle for the Constructors, which seems to be having a little bit of likelihood to it if they could just get in gear and beat those McLarens each week.
Yeah, they are 41 points behind. At the moment, you can get up to 29 in a weekend with a 1-2 and a fastest lap. So it's a bit closer than it is in that sense than the Drivers' Championship. So definitely possible if there's a bit of bad luck. If Kalsper or Toxic have to miss a race for whatever reason, this could really close up over championships. But let's see how Cazizzo does. Probably going to be his final lap at the moment. Perfect traction, I will say, coming out of turn 10. Absolutely nailed the car through that corner. Let's see how he is into turn 11. The short shifting ever so slightly to just help with the traction. That's the quickest way round on this game. These engines do provide a lot of power at the lower revs, not like the old non-turbo naturally aspirated engines that they used to have. The old V8s and V10s might have screamed, but they needed to scream for you to get any power as Cohen nearly getting in the way of Cazizzo there. Don't think it put him off too much. We'll have to see around his time through the final corner, because he was definitely keeping his foot flat to the floor. Yeah, did actually lose a bit of time in that final sector, so moves up into third. I can't imagine he'll be too happy about that.
Well, yeah, I think there'll be a bit of questions in the stewards, perhaps, will be looking at that. And I think Cohen there may be feeling a little embarrassed. He's had his moments this season, Cohen, actually, and Cohen is a good driver and everything. He's decent at what he does. He does a lot of preparation for these weekends, but he seems to be making very rookie mistakes in some cases, and it's causing him to be a little bit controversial in this tier. And we've seen also his performances this season have been very inconsistent. He got a P2 in Italy, but other than that, there's nothing really to regard any sort of praise for, really. And unfortunately, that is what it's been for the Mercedes team, really. There's nothing really we can say has been so praiseful, really. They've had good qualifying performances in Lars and Cohen as well, respectively, but they just have not really delivered in the race this season, and that's probably just hence why they're down in the midfield in what seemed to be them being favourites at the start of the season, and now they've probably just got no chance at all of winning Constructors.
No, which is a shame for them, because like you said, they have definitely shown pace. Checkered flag is out. Fabry was unable to improve, as was Thyman, as was Just Call Me Bread. Let's see if Boss Wanted can move his way up the order. Indeed he does. Great lap from him to go into 5th place. Pitmat now heads towards the finish line, stays in 11th. We'll get that fresh choice of tyres. Cohen decides to dive into the pits. Here comes the championship leader. Can Kalsper get pole position at the death in this session? What a fantastic lap that was, a 124.576. Black Phoenix on the medium tyres, not obviously moving himself off the bottom of the order. Ginger finds an improvement, takes 2nd position. We'll see Calzo coming towards the finish line. He slowed down there on purpose to make sure he's starting on a fresh set of tyres. Zach stays in 10th place. We've got D-Screen coming around now. He's invalidated his time, and exactly where he needed it. Kalsper shone there. Fantastic lap time. 124.576, and the top 2 in the championship are the top 2 on the grid.
These two just seem to have gotten quicker each week, haven't they? Like we saw at the start of the season and midway through the season, we've had it seem to be all right, haven't we? Like we've had a lot of different surprises, like, you know, some people getting pole that we wouldn't expect, or 2nd place being on that front row of the grid, and now really all we've been seeing for the last couple of weeks is Kalsper versus Ginger, and we haven't really been seeing other or anything else but that, unfortunately. And I don't know who finished 2nd in Japan, I just want to say. Oh, I've just found it. It's simply who finished 2nd. But other than that, like when Kalsper and Ginger have been together the last couple of weeks, it's really just been them two. And I think tonight should be a really big cracker, because we all obviously know how much this means to Ginger. Because if he really does get a good performance in and something happens to Kalsper, this could really be game on. And seeing Kalsper on pole position, Ginger will be furious that he didn't steal that away.
Yeah, he has got his teammate, though, pretty nearby to maybe help him out. Toxic in 8th. He's also got in the top 10. Fabry looked so quick at the early part of that session, wasn't able to improve on his final lap. He is in 3rd on the grid. It's very close, we saw, through that qualifying session. Boss Wanted putting in a good lap near the end to get himself fairly high up the order. And we did see Calzo just do that sneaky trick, which, to be honest, I wish I'd have thought of doing that in F11 when I saw myself half a second up on my personal best time. Just slowing down before the line to make sure you've got that fresh tyres, because we've said it so many times, this place absolutely eats up you eat up the front tyres when you come through the S's, and there's a lot of traction zones as well where it's really easy, as Gabri found out, to spin up the rears.
Yeah, very easy, and I think with Lars as well, we've seen it with the corners as well. Car setup is quite important here. If you don't get it right, then the corners can be quite deadly here, and, well, you have experience that I've experienced and everything. The tyres, the softs towards the end of their stint, around lap 6, lap 7, they are horrible to drive. The rear just snaps out of most corners. You've got to be so cautious on the throttle and everything, and it's so difficult to drive like that. But that is the best strategy if you're in the top 10. Like, two stops do not work here. Two stops do not work anywhere, really, except from the tracks where two stops is the only possible reality. And, well, I think for this race, this is going to be really, really interesting, because not only did the softs feel absolutely dire towards the end, also you're in puncture territory on the end of the hard stint for a lot of people. If there's no safety car here at all, we could actually be seeing controversial punches towards the end if someone has been pushing so much, or if they've made the wrong choice and they've pitted perhaps a lap too early for those hard tyres. So could be a very interesting one to see, and with no safety car, I think we could be in for a puncture or two towards the end.
Yeah, especially with the pace that these guys will be going around. So, outside the top 10 then, because we knew all the top 10 would be on the softs, Pit Matt, Vandenberg, Black Phoenix and Lars have gone for the hard tyres. D-Screen, Calzo, Just Call Me Bread and Gabri on the medium. So a 50-50 split outside of the top 10. If these guys can just keep in contact until the DRS becomes active, just stay within a second of those in front, they could have a really good chance of getting some great results. There you see the predictive strategies. 2 stops will only be seen if there's a safety car, if any driver has damage. It's definitely not the fastest way around. Really interested to see how these guys do. Black Phoenix choosing in the end to set a lap on the medium tyres. He's 16th. Lars and Gabri didn't get to set a lap at all after making mistakes. They're down in 17th and 18th, but we have seen some of Lars's best driving come when he's had to fight his way through the field.
Yeah, and, well, Lars fighting for the field. Also, we've seen him make mistakes, of course, but talking on the bright side, we've seen him come through the field very quickly. We speak about Vietnam, and obviously it went really well until what happened, and same with Hungary. He was going really well on those medium tyres fighting through the field. He's on the harder tyres, though, as some of these guys on the mediums, so it's going to be interesting on that side of things, but there's guys ahead of him on the hards, and he'll be looking to get in front of those hard runners as quickly as possible, but I mean, starting at 17th, a lot of things can happen. This track is very easy to overtake, but also it is easy for someone to shut the door on you and, I mean, crash you out and everything, or make you spin. And I think this is going to be a really interesting one for Lars, especially Black Phoenix as well, who didn't look like he was showing too much pace in qualifying. And I think this is kind of a good, sort of representation to show how long the softs are better, and I mean, who's done best with the tyre saving after the first 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, well, it won't be long until we find out, as the lights are coming on here in Bahrain. Who's going to take the victory in round 11? And we are underway. The light's not staying on for long at all. Seems like a pretty good reaction there from Carlsberg. One of the Ferraris instantly pulling out of a slipstream. Cazizzo might have to go defensive from the Williams here. In fact, he'll be attacking the Williams down the inside into turn 1. So no change at the front of the order at this moment in time. Carlsberg leading Ginger in second position. Everyone seems to have got through the first corner fairly cleanly at the moment. Toxic's had an absolutely fantastic start. He's got up 3 places already. He's going to try and make it 4. Can he make it down the inside? Through turn 4. Cazizzo with the inside for the next part though, and just about stays ahead for now, and that might give Boss Wanted a chance to fight back and make a way up. Cohen's had an absolutely disastrous start, losing 6 places. D-Screen down 4 as well, although it doesn't look like, just reading from the Discord, doesn't look like D-Screen is feeling too well at the moment. Carlsberg's pretty much checking out straight away in this early stage. He knows how easy it is to get overtaken around here. He wants to be more than a second ahead. Further down the field, Svanderbrug and Gabri are battling at the moment for 17th and 18th position. Those on the medium tyres will want to stay ahead of those on the hard tyres. That is a certainty. It could be really important from their strategy. Really spacing out, though, at the front of the field. Only a couple of corners to go on this first lap. Kalsper already 1.1 seconds ahead of Ginger, who himself is more than half a second ahead of Fabry.
Yeah, Kalsper, very good start. Cohen had a bad start, and I think Cohen's is mainly down to he's got wing damage on that front right side, and that may have coincided in the second corner. And he's coming into the pit, so that damage is not good. And I mean, has he just missed it? No, he hasn't. He's completely fine. And here we go. The timing glitch is happening again, but I mean, for Kalsper, this is brilliant start for him. And although it shows him down in 10th, he's actually in the lead of this race by around the second, and that is a perfect start for him. And for Ginger as well. Ginger's got a good start away from Fabry, and well, it's good for the front too. Everyone else is a bit everywhere. I don't even know where anyone is anymore, but forgive me, but it's a very good start for a lot of the soft runners. They've done what they needed to do, and well, there's a bunch of other runners as well. I want to say Calzo's had a really good start. He's got well away from Pitmat there, and Dan, I say he's already out. Dan, I say he's already out of the second of him, and he's quite close to these soft runners as well. So, interestingly, we haven't got the DRS yet. It's only lap 2 out of lap, not lap 3. But Calzo, very good start, and if he could just stick behind Ferreira for another lap, he's in a really good contention for later on in this race.
Yeah, as I mentioned on lap 1, crucial for those on the medium to try and get them way forward ahead of the hard runners, because they do obviously take a bit longer to heat up. As Zach almost looked as though he was going to go for a move on Diamond there, 7th and 8th position at the moment for the Ferraris. Back at the front of the field though, Carlsberg and Ginger, the gap is about a second. Fabry as well, he's dropped a bit back at this moment in time. Another fastest lap from Carlsberg, and we are seeing a very early pit stop there. Thyman coming into the pits. Has the Ferrari, surely he must have damage, because this is a really early pit stop, and yeah, front wing is coming out, so he'll drop to round where Cohen is at the back of the field, and they'll almost certainly have to pit again. Otherwise, I think the chances of them not getting a puncture will be extremely slim at the moment. Ferreira all over the back of Zach. DRS open into turn 4. Just look how powerful it is. Imagine what it'll be like next time around when they have it into turn 1 as well. Ferreira up into 7th position. Now Zach might have to defend from Calzo soon, although that move has allowed 4th to 6th to just break away ever so slightly. Carlsberg and Ginger still just pulling away at the front of the field at the moment. Ginger might have to think about an undercut, or it looks like he's going to have to think about doing something different, because on pure race pace at the moment, Carlsberg just looks to be absolutely flying. Likewise with Fabry, he's got to try and do something different if he wants to think about getting a win in this race.
Yeah, and Carlsberg, like you said, absolutely flying. Miles ahead of the competition, there's no one near him. I just want to say Calzo is in a really good position, keeping in the DRS, keeping in the slipstream of Zach. Really good position for him right now, but the thing is, though, Calsberg looks just insane on the pace, really. He's lost a little bit of time. Perhaps he's had a little bit of a mistake out of the second to last corner, or the third to last corner, turn 13 that is. But he seems to be running just fine, though, the McLaren driver, and this will really be a test of consistency, really, for these drivers. Now going into lap 4 and onwards, is that these soft tyres now will really start to degrade more on them, and well, this will be a real big test of, can they keep the temperature? Well, not keep the temperature in their tyres, but can they keep the temperature in their tyres down? And can they ultimately make the strategy work? Perhaps make the tyres go the distance, or will they just have to go and pit early and maybe risk a potential chance of a puncture?
Yeah, we'll have to see what the drivers do go for. How long will they be able to stretch out these soft tyres, and then will those on that started on the hards want to stretch out their stints to go onto the softs at the end, or will we see hard medium from those guys? Toxic all over the back of Fabry at the moment, just looking up ever so slightly into turn 10. We said that would be a common feature, and that allows the Williams to escape ever so slightly. 4th place at the moment for the McLaren driver. This would be his best finish of the season. 5th place in Hungary, 5th place in Vietnam. It's not really been the season he would have wanted. He's admitted that he's pretty much been carried to the title at the moment, but looks like he's going to try and help out tonight in the best way possible, and will have DRS coming down this next straight, and Fabry's just going to have to use his ERS, which he hasn't got a lot of, to defend here. So I think this could be a fairly straightforward forward manoeuvre for the McLaren here. You can see Fabry not even bothering to defend. Toxic up into the podium places. 2 McLarens on the podium now. Further down the back of the field as well, you've got Just Call Me Bread trying to make best use of those medium tyres all over the back of Pit Matt at the moment, who does seem to be holding these guys up ever so slightly. You've got Black Phoenix, Lars, and D-Screen and Pam pretty close behind as well. Black Phoenix and Lars won't be too worried though, because they're on the hards.
Yeah, they wouldn't be worried too much, as that's Vanderberg out of the race, and he's just at turn 3. That could be a virtual safety car, or even a safety car. Nothing much just yet, and I don't think we will be seeing one. I have been jinxed before, but it looks like we're just going to see a yellow flag here, and that's not exactly the most surprising corner where we've seen it happen, and no, we don't get any sort of safety car at all, which is good. We get racing to go onwards, and, well, unfortunately for Svanderberg, that's him out of the session, but, I mean, more interestingly, that is a unique corner, really, to crash out at, but it's one that's very possible, especially on those hard tyres. There's not much grip out of turn 2, and if you get it completely wrong and then you just go a bit too much confidence out of that corner, you can easily see yourself spinning into the wall at the exit of turn 3. And I mean, like you said, there's a massive gap now between Pit Matt and Calzo, and I think Pit Matt would need to be speeding up a little bit now, because Calzo continues to get away. He's in the DRS, Pit Matt's got none of it. Pit Matt's going to also have guys behind him looking to get by. It's just not really turning out well for the Renault driver compared to perhaps Calzo ahead of him.
No, definitely. This is going to be a big favour for Calzo, as Just Call Me Bread pulls out the slipstream once again, but isn't close enough to get a move done, as Lars trying to send one down the inside of Black Phoenix, who has the line through turns 2 and 3. They'll both have DRS up the next straight. I don't think Lars is going to be close enough for even him to think about getting a overtake done. Further up the field, Kazizel all over the back of Fabry then, who now that he's got DRS is just able to stay in contact with Toxic, so this is going to be a bit harder for those guys to overtake. And Boss Wanted, Forever and Zach aren't exactly miles away at this moment in time. They're just over that all-important 1 second mark, so it wouldn't surprise me if I was Boss Wanted, I'll try and use as much DRS as possible, but he's gone very deep into turn 10 there. Forever just says thank you very much, I will take that 6th position, and I'll have DRS down this next straight as well. First driver we've seen do that. I don't think he'll be the last.
Yeah, a lot of guys lock up there, and, well, that is definitely a very difficult corner, very difficult section, really, turn 9 and turn 10, and into that corner very easy to go wide, lock up the tyres, and obviously, especially with the dirty air factor on this game as well, you can also go a little bit wide down to that, and I think this is also the penultimate corner as well, and we've seen that really just now, actually. Calzo had that moment where you brake on the same pace, and he's got damage there. That's a huge hindrance to his race, and I said about that corner, really, I was just about to go on about that penultimate corner. With the dirty air, you could brake at the same point as the guy in front of you, but because of that dirty air factor, you just don't slow down quick enough, and he's gone into the back of Zach and everything, but you can really lock up and go a little bit wide there, and we've seen it from Calzo just now, and Calzo now is going to be struggling. And I said about Pit Matt maybe in a little bit of danger. Maybe this is kind of his fortunes being turned around. Yeah,
that is really ruined Calzo's strategy. You just see so much understeer through this part of the track, and Zach will be able to get away. So Calzo is going to have to come into the pits, I think, pretty soon to put on a set of hard tyres and try to get to the end on those. Boss Wanted did come into the pits. He now comes out in 15th place in a bit of free air, as we've got a yellow flag, and that is Cohen out of the session. Very similar place to where Svanderbrug was, and that gives us a virtual safety car. This might tempt a few drivers, if it's still on in about 30 seconds time, to come into the pits.
Oh, it could do, and I think this is an interesting one, really. I wonder if it will tempt Kausper to come into the pits. We have seen Kausper make a few interesting decisions this season. I think that's probably been his one minor weak point in some sense, his decision making, but sometimes that decision making has worked out, really, in lucky sense. But we've still got a virtual safety car, don't know if it's ending yet, and, well, we're slowing down still, so I think we are still going. And look at that, Ginger's into the pits and Toxic into the pits, so the teammate of Kausper deciding to go into the pits, and, well, interestingly, we've also got Ginger in the pits, and We've still got a virtual safety car out. This is not good at all, is it, for Kalsper? And this is brilliant for Ginger, not being held up, which is a really good thing for him. And, well, he's gone onto the hard tyres. Fabry onto the medium. So he's trying to do a two-stop there, Fabry. And that's an interesting strategy since it was only a VSC. But, I mean, fair play. Fabry could potentially still be a factor in this race. But who knows? And Tops tried to go around the outside there. That was interesting adventure he took, but well, who knows in this race. This race has just got a little bit more spicy.
Yeah, definitely. Toxic actually must have lost a bit of time getting held up in the pits as he's come out behind Fabry, tried to re-overtake him, wasn't able to do so as Boss Wanted and Kazizel are now battling. Obviously Kazizel going for that double stack. Boss Wanted pitting earlier on, which I suppose he's probably just feeling a bit gutted now. Maybe if he'd have pitted under the VSC as well, he was ahead of Zach, of course, before that mistake, and you can see the Ferrari just ahead of him. So now, Kalsper, 11-second lead over Calzo. He decided to stay out, surprisingly enough, and now he's got pit mat all over the back of him. Black Phoenix in 4th, Lars 5th, D-Spreen in 6th, Gabri I in 7th. Everyone else has made their pit stop, and now we're going to see Kalsper coming to the pits from the lead of the race. How much has that cost him not pitting under the virtual safety car? He had about a 3-second lead, so I think this could be pretty close here, and I think Ginger might just be able to take the lead of the race here. Solid pit stop from the McLaren crew. You can see there Calzo getting ahead, but he's not the one they're worried about. Ginger's coming through the final corner. Kalsper will be getting up to speed now. He's going to be pretty close, but I think the Alfa Romeo's going to have the momentum and is going to take the lead of this race.
Yes, he does, and look at that Kalsper trying to come out and trying to get into that corner, but just too far behind. And this is a really interesting one now. If Fabry can catch up to these guys, he's on the medium tyres. He could cause a lot of stress for Kalsper and potentially Ginger as well. And this is going to be really who has the better pace. And Kalsper almost losing the car there. So on fresh new hard tyres, the temperature's not there, the grip's not there at the moment, and Kalsper almost spinning the car. And well, interestingly, this has given Fabry a great opportunity for these next few corners, actually, because Kalsper now is actually out of the DRS section. I don't think he's even going to get it here, and Fabry is going to get it. So Kalsper's going to come under a huge amount of pressure. This is huge for a potential championship.
Yeah, I think Kalsper was just within the 1 second, importantly, at the detection point. But now that he's made that mistake, Fabry is going to be within it as well as Lars. Down the inside at turn 13. That's a very brave overtaking point as Calzo defending from pit mat at this moment in time. It's all got very interesting for those on the alternate strategy. They seem to be making their moves because they obviously couldn't benefit because of the virtual safety car. Calzo comes into the pits. He'll be putting the hard tyres on and will be dropping down to around where Red and Thyman are at the moment. So pit mat leads. Lars now in second, but for how long as Black Phoenix thinks about having a go there. Ginger in 6th place. Kalsper not really close, and he's going to see front wing change. He's going to drop a long way down the field. I think what Ginger needs is Fabry to get onto the back of Kalsper and really start causing him problems in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, and I think that perhaps could happen. I think Kalsper is a bit lucky here because he is in the DRS, and I mean, he saved himself a little bit because that could have been really, really bad if he didn't get that DRS. Now he's just behind Ginger. However, he's going to be stuck behind Ginger. Ginger's going to be going no quicker than Kalsper. Fabry is going to be so much more confident on those tyres for around the next 5-6 laps or so. And, well, this is just going to draw him in. And for Kalsper especially, this could be a little bit of a worry here. And Kalsper just there, but it's a little bit of a train at the moment, so the straight isn't going to be the worry. The worry is going to be within the corners, and, well, Fabry's just not going to be slower. He's going to be really good on the exits, and in the entries as well. He's just going to be so much more confident on the throttle. So, at the moment, this is a huge threat for Kalsper, but perhaps for Ginger as well, but Ginger will be looking just to not make any issues of it, and I guess Kalsper as well. Perhaps if he sees that Fabry's got the pace, he'll just let him by, but Kalsper at the moment, he would just not be in the best situation, knowing he's got a faster driver, technically speaking, right behind him.
Yeah, Gabri's coming to the pits then from 5th position, so Kalsper with the DRS open, he's not really close enough to Ginger at the moment to think about a move, and likewise with Fabry on Kalsper as well. Just maybe needs to think, Kalsper's got a bit deep there. I don't know whether he tapped the back of Ginger and that nearly opened the door for Fabry. That could have all got very nasty all of a sudden. And Ginger's thinking about having to go defensive here, just about manages to stay ahead for now. But it's all getting very close with these guys. I think it's Carlsberg could afford to maybe take a podium here and not have to worry too much about Fabry. Ginger has to try and fight and ensure that he gets the victory in this race, because that is really the only hope he's got of taking this championship, is winning every single race from now on and just hoping Carlsberg has some misfortune.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say this now, Fabry, just calm down. He went down the inside there at something that looked very much impossible, and, well, we almost caused Carlsberg to spin and ruin his own race as well. He just needs to calm down and just make the opportunity last, because this isn't going to be an opportunity you're going to be having for too long, because he's got to pit again. The guys in front of him shouldn't need to pit again, and, well, for Fabry at the moment, he just needs to get past these guys as quickly as possible, but just don't do it where it loses you time. And he's doing that, and, well, Toxic is going to slightly close in, but Fabry at the moment just needs to calm down and make his opportunities last and take them opportunities when they come. But at the moment, he's just not looking too great on those medium tyres, and the top two seem to be just fine. And look at this. And
yeah, Lars is taking his opportunities when it comes down the inside using the DRS into turn one. He takes that position as Carlsberg now with the DRS open. Down the inside he goes into turn one as well, retaking the net lead of this race. Ginger was behind at the DRS point though. Will he be able to fight back into turn four? Is he just a bit too far back to send a lunge down, maybe down the inside into turn four? This could be crucial for two championship rivals battling with each other out on track, just about leaving each other enough space, and I think somehow Carlsberg is just going to hang on. Fabry now trying to get involved in this battle. Could he throw one down the inside of Ginger all of a sudden? Down the inside he goes, and Ginger again able to hold on to that position, but that's allowed Carlsberg to get away ever so slightly. Carlsberg just got a bit closer through the final corner. That's all he needed to get it done, but then that battle just allowed Fabry to very nearly get himself in the middle of it. And I think if Fabry would have been behind Carlsberg and then Carlsberg had no DRS, I'm not sure there's a lot he'd have been able to do at this stage.
Oh, it's so difficult, this fight, because, you know, for Fabry, he wants to get past these guys as soon as possible to make this two-stop work as much as he possibly can. But these two in front and everything, they know what it means. Carlsberg wins here. It basically makes it virtually impossible for this championship fight to continue. But if Ginger wins here, perhaps there is still momentum flung in his way, and this is going to be interesting now. Ginger's going to play roles reverse. Is he going to do the same as what Carlsberg did last lap round? It looks like he's got the pace and momentum. Is Carlsberg going to defend? No, he's not. There's a long race to go. Down the inside goes Ginger, and back up to 5th place, and what would be the net lead. What about Fabry? He's side by side with Carlsberg. Carlsberg just saying, I'm still here, and just don't worry, just stick behind us for now. Carlsberg looking perhaps react to Ginger, but it just doesn't quite work out, and Fabry still stuck behind these guys. He's just wasting his tyres away at this point.
This is the problem. We've said it before on this game. You're the third car in the DRS train. You've got to try and pass somewhere where you don't have DRS, as he nearly drops it at the exact point where Lars dropped it, and you can tell how much he's losing because Toxic's keeping that gap at about 1.5, 1.6 seconds as well, and they had similar pace earlier on, but now Fabry on the mediums should be far quicker. D-Screen's doing a pretty decent job on those medium tyres at the moment. He's in 4th position as Carlsberg again closing up down the DRS straight into turn 11, but that is not really an overtaking opportunity. The other problem Fabry's going to have as well is obviously he's on softer tyres, but he's in the dirty air with these guys all the time, so that'll just be cooking his tyres ever so slightly. He'll be sliding more and more, and I think that's why Ginger and Carlsberg keep swapping, because they want to be ahead. They want to just cool their tyres down ever so slightly.
Yeah, and Carlsberg very close to Ginger again, and this is probably another opportunity to see an overtake here. The DRS open from all of them, except from obviously your leader Ginger, who's no longer your leader, it looks like, as Carlsberg sends it up the inside. However, it will be roles reverse again. It will actually be Ginger who has the DRS. How is he going to treat these next two corners? Is he going to get the better exit? Doesn't look like it. Carlsberg looks far clear on this occasion, and with Fabry just not close again, it looks like Carlsberg is leading the race once again. Ginger's not losing too much time, but I mean, he struggled at the exit of that corner, and unfortunately he's lost a bit, but this isn't over from these two, I tell you that.
No, this could be a battle going on to the end of the race. I do wonder though, Carlsberg's on 70% ERS at the moment. whether he should just try and burn it all on one lap and try to get 1 second ahead of Ginger, because that could make all the difference if he gets away, because then Ginger's going to have to defend from Fabry without the DRS. And he might find that very hard to do at the moment, even though Fabry's medium tyres will be starting to wear toxic. He's now within 1.3 seconds of these drivers, so he's looking to try and make it a 4-car train, and it has been a very good race at the moment from Toxic. Back for the actual lead of the race, though, not just for net lead. Lars, 0.6 seconds ahead of Pitmat at the moment, who, to be fair to him, seems to be holding a bit better pace at this moment in time. It's not like Lars is getting away at this point, just seems to struggle at the early part of the stint with the harder tyres, as Black Phoenix and D-Spring coming into the pits. That is early from Black Phoenix.
Yeah, and well, early it must be going on to the mediums, surely. I'm very surprised if it's anything other. And yeah, we go on to the medium tyres. 14 laps, he's got a wing change here, so I wonder if he's gone into the back of someone. I don't know who it would have been, but a wing change for the hard tyre runner, but he's on the mediums now. He's got to stretch those mediums to 14 laps, and I think that's possible. But I guess the problem is that the mediums are just not going to be fulfilled properly, and well, he's just going to lose a bit of time. I mean, I'm just looking further back here. Where is Kalsper? He's 5 seconds behind Pitmat and Lars, so roughly around 80 seconds gap between Lars and the lead of this race. That's obviously definitely not close enough for that, but interestingly, if this battle keeps going on, the better for the top two, but seems to just flatten down a little bit between Kalsper and Ginger at the moment, but Fabry's still in this, but he's going to have to be pitting soon.
Yeah, Fabry's tyres will be getting absolutely cooked. You can do the 15 laps on the mediums that Black Phoenix is asking for, but they're not going to be in their optimal condition in the end, and he'll have definitely had a couple of laps of life left, or useful life, I reckon, in those hard tyres. So, lap 15 then, Lars still leading as they come on to lap 16. Pitmat in second place. Kalsper just seems to be far enough ahead now of Ginger that the Alfa Romeo can't get close enough with the DRS, and likewise Ginger and Fabry as well. Toxic, he's 1.5 seconds behind these. Ferreira in 7th, Kazizel 8th, with Zach all over the back of him, and Boss Wanted looking pretty close as well. Feynman losing out a bit in that pit stop period. He obviously had damage and had to pit earlier on. He's on 12 lap old hard tyres. He's in 11th, and I think it's going to be really hard for him to get any points at the moment. Bredd is 12th, Gabri 13th, Alzo 14th. He was on the alternate strategy before he got that wing damage. D-Screen in 15th. Might be worth watching what times he does. And Black Phoenix is in 16th position at this moment in time. Kalsper still staying ahead of Ginger at the moment. It definitely looks like the last couple of laps, Gabri's not been able to challenge as much as he has coming out of the traction zones and into the braking zones. He's definitely taken the best out of those medium tyres.
Yeah, and he'll be in very soon, I reckon. I don't think it'll be this lap or next lap, but definitely within the next 3 laps I expect him to pit, and onto another set of mediums would be, I would suppose, the answer, but I mean, could he go for the sauce at the end? He could probably make him to the end. I mean, it's whether he really wants to take him to the end, because they are still going to be absolutely awful at the end, and he's going to drop a lot of positions as well to the back of the field as well. So for me, I don't really think this has worked out for Fabry. There's a lot of DRS trains, not much of a gap between the leaders and the back markers. We'll see with those two pitting now in Pitmat and Lars. They'll fall quite far back as well, and well, I don't really think this has worked out well for Fabry, unfortunately, and he will drop back quite a bit. Just about whether he can make up the time and make up the places, really.
Yeah, I think it definitely could be worth him going into the pits and putting the soft tyres on if he just stretches these mediums out to about lap 22 maybe, and then 7 laps on the soft should be in really good form. I think as soon as he drops out of the DRS zone of Ginger, that's the time maybe to come into the pits. If it happens after lap 19 or 20, we'll have to wait and see. Black Phoenix, unsurprisingly, setting the fastest lap of the race on those mediums. He's in last place. Pitmat's coming out just ahead of him, and Lars coming out in 13th place behind Calzo and Gabri at this moment in time. So Lars will be hoping in a bit like what Fabry tried and unfortunately for him failed to do, to be able to get ahead of these guys. But with Calzo having DRS, we know just how hard it is going to be. Kalsper then leading this race now, 0.5 seconds ahead of Ginger, who himself is 0.6 ahead of Fabry, all settling down at the front of the field at the moment. And if things stayed as they were, Karlsruhe would have a 35-point lead going into the final 3 rounds. With 51 remaining, you'd be a very brave man to bet against him taking this F3 title this season. And of course, thanks to our sponsors, Brutal Democracy, taking that £20 prize as Lars and Calzo. I'm wondering, did they just come together, or was that completely Calzo's own mistake?
There was a little coming together. I don't really know if I could say that's Lars' fault, in all honesty. I think really for Lars, though, he had much better exit, really. On those medium tyres, so much more grip, so much more pace on them. And, well, for Calzo, it's really unfortunate because it was just a little bit of a tap, really, and there's nothing much Lars could do, because if Lars had slowed down, he potentially could have been putting Pitmat in danger. I'm not sure how close he was at the time, but really, I would say it's more Lars' fault than Calzo's fault, because there's nothing really you can do when it comes to grip. But in my opinion, it's just a simple racing incident, and I can't really blame neither. But we'll have to continue moving forward, and this is just interesting for Lars now on those medium tyres, because he's now got the free air after he gets past Gabri, and when he gets past Gabri, who is that? That's Fabry. That's a nice rhythm right there, but unfortunately for him, we said about the medium tyres, they're starting to go, well, they're not out of it. However, I mean, that's probably not what he would have wanted. He's obviously been caught napping and then completely lost the car or something. I have no clue what's happened there, but Lars gets past Gabri, and Gabri almost loses the car himself. So those with the names of Brie in it, not really doing the best right now, but Lars up to 11th place now, and he's got a bit of a gap to go to catch up to Bread in 10th place, and that's just a unique name in itself. And he had a good start, hasn't he, to be honest, to PSGL, and being a reserve, the first race we've seen him, and he's actually had a fair decent start to his career.
Yeah, he's just kept it clean at the moment, and that could well manage to pick him up a few points there. I'm wondering if Fabry and Gabri were just caught out with the cold tyres after the virtual safety car period, as Fabry's now gone onto the soft tyres. I think that is a bit early, if I'm being perfectly honest. Pitmat makes his way past his teammate. Can he make his way past Lars? Just not quite close enough at this moment in time. So he stays at 11th. Lars is up into the points. He's going to be pushing like mad to catch up to Bread and Feynman, and very soon Feynman's going to have absolutely nothing to defend with in that 8th position. Lars could still get some pretty decent points at the moment, and I think it's been fairly clean from penalties for most of the drivers at the moment. I haven't seen too many pop up at the bottom of the screen, and I think Karlsruhe's now decided this is the lap. He's going to go for it. He's using a bit more of his ERS. He wants to break that 1 second window, because he knows if he's done that, as long as he keeps it clean, he's going to take another victory this season, his 7th of the season, and take a huge step towards becoming the season 26 F3 champion.
Yeah, and well, he's tried using it, but it hasn't exactly worked. Looking at Ginger, he's started to close in a little bit. However, I do just feel right now there's not much happening between these two at the moment, and I think Ginger is just trying to keep conservative right now, keeping that DRS, because he does know that will stick him within that second margin, just trying not to make any mistakes and just trying to close in it very marginally and then just use it all towards the end. Looking further back, Lars isn't closing, but he's definitely not losing time. He's closing quite a bit on Bread ahead, but probably not what he would have wanted. Pitmat is quite close to him. Black Phoenix also getting past Gabri now as well, so Black Phoenix will enter the frame, and for Lars, he might be under a little bit of pressure from the Renault and Williams, who are chasing him behind, but a lot of gaps going on, but no real overtakes, and this isn't your usual Bahrain Grand Prix, but I mean, this could be a really interesting end, because there's a lot of things still yet to finish, just as of yet, I reckon. Yeah,
those hard tyres, like you said, normally talking anything above 75-80% when you get into the end of the race here at times, they could be in big trouble. Zach all over the back of Kezizel at the moment, who did pick up a penalty on the last lap, so a bit of a return to form for Zach, maybe you could say, in this race. Got pole position and 5th in Japan, so his race pace wasn't exactly the best there. If he gets ahead of Kezizel, he could well get a 5th position in this race at the moment as the leaders come on to lap 21. 9 remaining now. Carlsberg still 7/10 of a second ahead of Ginger. Toxic has dropped back ever so slightly. He's now 3.5 behind those guys, but he's safe from Ferreira at the moment as Zach Hill with the DRS. Cazizzo not really going for it, and Diamond actually coming into the pits. Obviously he'll be thinking he might put the soft tyres on now to get him towards the end of the race and maybe get the fastest lap. Won't get any points for that, but will obviously have a tiny bit of pride as Cazizzo looks to have just about fended off Zach for now. Fabra with the fastest lap of the race. Looking back at Lars, who's got Pitmat and Black Phoenix behind him on the medium tyres. Can Phoenix get those mediums to the end in any decent condition? These guys are now 1.5 seconds behind Bread, who won't have DRS to help defend, so he could be a bit of a sitting duck in a lap's time.
Yeah, and they're definitely getting closer. Those medium tyres have gotten up to temperature now. These medium tyres look to be going towards around 10 laps before they start to fall off a little bit. These hard tyres, though, they seem to fall off around this time as well. And I think for the medium tyres, this is their time really to strike. And we see with Lars here, once he's in DRS, I'm pretty sure it's really no games with Red, really. All these guys are going to be quicker than him. All these guys are going to be surging to go past, because if they don't go past, they're going to lose their track and sight of Lars, which is not what they want to do. But Lars has actually had a really good race so far, and he's closing in on Just Call Me Bread, and hopefully, well, we're hoping for a good result. He's looking to perhaps get top 8. I doubt he'll get top 7 now, but I mean, I've been wrong in the past, and he could really start to push after this lap. But he's closing in, DRS open. I don't think he's close enough to really warrant a move as of yet. And yeah, he's by far close enough in any sense of the question, really. But he's closing in a lot, and so are the guys behind on those medium tyres compared to Brett.
Yeah, Bread, as long as he can hold off actually coming into turn 4, which it looks like he'll be able to do. Lars has got the DRS, he's closing in. Look how much he closes under the brake zone, completely caught out by surprise. And I think that's a bit like we saw with Calzo earlier, just caught out by the difference in grip and goes straight into the back of him. And once again, when it comes to the end of the race, Lars has just got himself involved in some sort of incident, broken his front wing, and it's going to be another no-point score for the Mercedes team. I don't think I've ever known a team had 2 drivers that have got such good pace, yet just somehow managed to come together to end up getting no points. Really frustrating here for Lars, who's just, I think he's pretty much checked out now. He's cruising around Bahrain. He'll be getting no points whatsoever. And I think that was just straight away. You got caught out by the DRS. Bread was always going to break early on those older tyres, and Lars just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, it's silly from Lars again, really. Lack of awareness in some sense, but he's had this all season, really. We saw this in Hungary, we've seen this in Vietnam. I think we've seen this loads of different places. He's made mistakes with his braking, with getting on the throttle too early, being too eager, perhaps. And I said about this is probably something to do with him mentally, perhaps. He just gets too excited or perhaps too pressured into things, and he put a lot of pressure on himself at the start of the season. And it's starting to show now, really, is that he's making these mistakes, he's making the wrong decisions, and when he thinks that he can do anything he wants on the track, it just does not work out. And yeah, he's just about to retire. There we go, retiring in the pit lane like he's supposed to, so that is good from him. But I mean, unfortunately for Lars, it's another DNF, it's another really poor performance, an underwhelming performance that could have gone so much better. And well, it is what it is at the end of the day. I'm just looking towards Ginger right now. He's closed in a lot on Kalsper, and they're both on the same amount as ERS. This could get very, very tasty towards the end here, and, well, we haven't talked about Toxic. Although Toxic probably isn't going to win this race, obviously, unless the top 2 do a Rosberg-Hamilton from Spain in 2016. He's on for his first podium, and this would be quite a joyous occasion, because we have not seen Toxic on the podium as of yet.
Yeah, he'll feel really good about this, and obviously this will be a big step towards the constructors as well for McLaren. Carlsberg just absolutely nailing the final 2 turns there at 14 and 15, so keeps himself safe for Ginger for now. All Ginger's got to do is think about getting this exit absolutely perfect through 1, 2 and 3 to get the best possible run there. I think he just went a tiny bit deep into turn 1, and that's maybe the chance over for this lap. Phoenix works his way past Bread, so he's now up into 9th position at the moment. We've got to say Bread looks as though he might sneak up a point here in the AlphaTauri, which I think he'll be fairly happy with on his debut after starting quite a long way down the field. Started in 15th position, of course, so we'll have to see what he can do as the race goes on, and can he hold on to that 10th place. Further up the field, the battle for 5th at the moment, Cazzizel, Zach, and now Boss Wanted has managed to get onto the back of this battle for 5th place. And if these really start holding each other up, Pitmat might just feel as though he's got a slight chance on the final lap to catch up to these guys.
Yeah, it's been a second per lap, hasn't it, persistently for these medium tyres, and he's starting to push now, I think, Pitmat a little bit, maybe a little bit too hard in some sense he could do. Black Phoenix is also pressurising him behind, and well, that'll be an interesting battle between these two, and it's who has the pace here between these two. But Boss Wanted at the moment, he's joined this battle for 5th place, and well, if these three do start to hold each other up and not make the right moves, Dirty Air plays a factor. If you go side by side through that second sector, on most parts of that second sector, it's really not a fun thing to do, and it holds you up massively, and we've seen how much time people can gain by that, and well, Pitmat is closing quite considerably. Probably not enough to warrant something like a last lap overtake as of yet, but let's just not rule it out at this current moment, because that definitely is some sort of possibility right now.
Yeah, you never know if this hard start wearing as well. 16 laps so far for Cazzizel and Zach, 17 on Boss Wanted tyres, and the 4 seconds behind with 4 laps to go. I think it is just going to be 1 lap too short for Pitmat and Black Phoenix to really get on the back and seriously challenge these guys, but we'll have to wait and see as D-Spreen round the outside he goes on Gabri at the moment. He's got the slightly fresher tyres. Can he just stay ahead in the Haas? Great move from him. He's into 11th place. Gabri's going to try and fight it back round the outside at turn 8. That's not really going to be a possibility. D-Spreen up into 11th. Can he now try and work his way up through the field to catch up to Bread and maybe get a point in this race? And it would be the first point for the Haas driver since the Italian Grand Prix, which had great pace as a reserve in the Red Bull. Actually get into the business end of this race now, and I'll tell you what, all of a sudden I think Toxic's made a mistake, because Ferreira's all over the back of him out of nowhere.
Oh no, don't tell me this is ending for Toxic, because he's been so close for podiums on so many occasions, and this was another one that, look at Ferreira, look how close he is, and yeah, I think you're right, Toxic probably has made a mistake here, and rather a very big one, and Ferreira's just cruised by him. I think Toxic will have the DRS though, however, into the next corner, which is a positive, but it does seem like those tyres are starting to go on that McLaren, and I think the Racing Point may be a lap ahead on that side of things for some reason, or perhaps he hasn't treated his tyres just as well as what the Racing Point driver has in Ferreira. So Ferreira up to 3rd now, and poor for Toxic. I mean, he's been so close to that podium on so many occasions. He's been one of those drivers sort of like, you know, when is he going to get one? And I think this one probably isn't the time to get one at the moment, because he's kind of really fallen off the pace these last couple of laps.
Yeah, he has. Let's not forget, not long after when we saw earlier on when Ginger, Carlsberg and Fabry are there, and currently Fabry and Diamond are in a fantastic battle for 13th. He was only about a second off these guys, but he's now 6 seconds, well, nearly 7 seconds off the race lead, so he'll be trying to just hang on to the back of Ferreira and maybe just pull his tyres down ever so slightly. If he's overheated, then Black Phoenix managed to get ahead of Pitmat for 8th and 9th, and we'll just have a quick check of what the penalty situation is for these front guys, because I think they've all managed to keep it very clean at the moment. Carlsberg's not even got a warning. Ginger only has the 1 warning. Ferreira as well with 1. Toxic, he also has 1 warning, but if we just take a look there, he did lose a lot of time last lap as Gabri is out of the race. Not sure where he's got off. I think it's for that curve at turn 12 that has just caught him out. We might be able to see from Calzo here, the Renault off in the barriers, just got cleared in time, but Gabri is our 4th retirement from this race. We're down to just 14 runners, so as we're seeing it with the top 4 drivers is how it stands. No penalties at the moment for these guys. Cazzizel holding off Zach at the moment. Further down, Thyman gets back past ahead of Fabry with the DRS, but now Fabry's going to be able to have a go down the next straight if he can get a clean enough exit through turns 2 and 3. Just picks up a warning for cutting the curve, and I think those 7-lap-old soft tyres said that might be about the useful life at the end of this race, especially when you're fighting someone on the fresher tyres, so that battle might well be over. And once again, Ginger gets within a quarter of a second. He'll just lose a bit of time in the dirty air. You can just see the car sliding away ever so slightly. Is there going to be one final twist? Can Ginger get close enough to try and get this race win? It will be an 8-point swing in the Drivers' Championship. It could pretty much settle it between being a sure thing next time out and just putting a bit of doubt in the McLaren driver's mind.
Yeah, look how close this is between these two. I wonder if Ginger's going to go for this lap or he's going to settle it for next lap. It's not the greatest of exits. Kausper, I think, has used a little bit of overtake here to make sure he's just got the better exit there, but Ginger is not phased at the moment. He's just sitting behind, and this is rather a last chance sort of effort really for Ginger. He's got one more lap to do it, and we've already got drivers making up their minds and everything, making their decisions as Zach gets past Cazzizzle goes into the back of him slightly. Not much to give neither of them wing damage of any sort, but now Cazzizzle's unsettled, this is the opportunity for Boss Wanted. Is he going to send it down the inside? Of course he does. These two side by side into the next corner. Who's got the better exit? Still side by side in the corner. It looks like it is going to be Cazzizzle's corner, and that is good from Boss Wanted. Just being patient, waiting for the exit. He's got a much better exit than him to the outside though, and is he going to get this move done around the outside? He's very ambitious on the throttle, but I just don't think he's got it there, and no, he hasn't. Two drivers retiring in the pits, I think, or one driver retiring in the pits. Calzo, I think, is just going for fastest up, it looks like, but Cazzizzle stays in 6th, but well, this is a big opportunity now. On to the last lap we go then. Any second now, any minute now, and it'll be Kausper versus Ginger. Who is going to win this chase? Let's just find out.
We're pretty much in roles reversed from last time around. This time Ginger's got to try and do it in the DRS. Kausper again just seems to get a slightly better exit, but you can see him just moving to break the toe at the moment. I don't think Ginger's going to be close enough. Black Phoenix has got ahead of Boss Wanted. All that battling has allowed Pit Matt and Black Phoenix to catch up, so with a lap to go, these guys are now battling for position. Ginger very late on the brakes there, trying to maybe go. He's made a slight mistake. No. Has he got a puncture? Has he got a puncture? He's got to be a left puncture.
Oh no! That's handed it to Kausper, I think, unless Kausper gets some puncture. This is a whole possibility. They're both on the same... Well, no, they're not on the same lap of tyres. Now this is really interesting. Toxic back in a position for his podium. However, will his tyres last? Ginger's got not a penalty, a puncture from that. That is absolutely so sad for him. He's got to cruise around the lap and he's going to spin the car. I'm pretty sure points is probably very unlikely now, but Kausper just needs to really cruise around the track and he's won this race. Ferreira and Toxic, this is nail-biting for these two now, because they're on the same lap old tyres as Ginger, and that could completely ruin their race. And, well, I feel really bad for Ginger, like, on for second place, or even the win, and, well, the punch has completely destroyed his race. He's not even going to get any points at all, and, oh, this is just so heartbreaking for him.
Yeah, it looked as though he came so close when he was leading after pitting under the VSC, but that extra one lap and stuck in the dirty air for so long just proved to be too much. But it's another win for Kausper, who pretty much has a solid grasp on that trophy now. He takes the victory. It's going to be another podium, 2 in a row for Ferreira. Gets a bit lucky, though, in the end to finish in second. Toxic crosses the line in third place. Zach will come across to take fourth. Black Phoenix doing a good job on those mediums for fifth. Pit Matt in sixth. Boss Wanted is seventh. Cazzizzle in eighth. And good job by Boss Wanted actually making those hards last 22 laps. Bread in ninth. Deesbreen takes 10th. Thyman in 11th. And you can just see Ginger trying to get that car around. He wants to get to the finish of this race, but we can now pretty much say it. The championship is over. 47-point gap. Ginger's spinning it round. I think it's a bit of rubbing salt in the room there by the game to give him a penalty, but just such bad luck there. He looked as though he just got a bit deep, but then when he struggled to get it out the corner, you see his rear left absolutely gone. And Kausper with another victory. Calzo taking the fastest lap on the final lap. Who knows what he could have done if he hadn't have had, well, broken his front wing twice. Great job from Kausper to take the victory, and obviously with that late puncture, McLaren now in a fantastic slot to take the Constructors' Championship, getting 2 drivers on the podium here today.
Yeah, they really put in a good performance, and I think Cazzizzle didn't exactly finish that high either. I think he finished P8, didn't he? So that's not good for Alfa Romeo at all. And I think really now McLaren probably got the constructors now in the bag pretty much, and it's almost but certain now Kasper's won the championship. I believe, if I am correct, he only needs 2 points now to be officially the champion here in PHGL F3, and that's incredible, isn't it? He's so close to winning a championship, and we've still got 3 rounds to go, and when all the tiers seem to be so close, this one has seemed to be quite distant, and well, we thought today could be a day where Ginger could perhaps turn Demons into, well, something else and maybe get on a really big winning streak, but it just hasn't really happened, and I feel really bad for him because he did not deserve of what happened to him, of course, and I mean, the puncher in itself is just insulting really for him, and the championship at this point is pretty much done. If Kasper don't win it from this point, I will be absolutely stunned because Ginger has to win every single race now to win the championship, and hope that Kasper doesn't get 2 points. That is basically, Kasper has to finish 10th twice out of the next 3 races to win the championship. That's basically what he needs to do at minimum.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, Ginger's got no choice. He has to win all the races, and that probably won't be enough. So we will get our top, well, I don't think we'll be able to get Ferrero in again, but we'll get the 2 McLaren drivers in, hopefully, for some interviews. Toxic, who got his first podium.
For Toxic, he'll be really happy still. He's got a podium and he'll be spraying that champagne with joy, and his teammate as well, winning it. It's just perfect weekend for McLaren.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, now so close to taking the Constructors as championship as well. I believe that's 26 points for McLaren, 3 points for Alfa Romeo. So that is I think it's a 64-point lead McLaren have now. They can easily take the Constructors Championship as well. It could be a double championship glory next time around for the McLaren drivers. We've got them both here now, and we'll have a word with Kasper. Ginger definitely made you fight hard for that victory after pitting under the VSC, but you managed to hang on. 7th win of the season. I think we only need 2 or 3 points next time around. Another fantastic job from yourself.
That race was crazy. I mean, Ginger definitely kept me on my toes throughout that entire race. I was considering pitting under the VSC, but I thought I'd let Toxic do it as my tyres were pretty decent and I didn't think I'd lose enough time. But turns out I lost a lot of time and I got behind Ginger, which was unfortunate, but it led to some pretty good battles during the race, and it was unfortunate on his behalf to get a puncture on the last lap.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw him lose it a bit under braking, and we wondered if he'd just gone a bit deep on the brakes, but he did end up getting a puncture at the end. Were you a bit worried maybe that Fabry on the medium tyres might try and send a move down the inside? He got very close a couple of times to when Ginger was behind you getting past him. Was that a bit of a worry for you that Fabry might just throw one down the inside and then put a spanner in the works?
Obviously he was the faster driver at that point in the race, but he wasn't really like my focus. Ginger was my focus, so I just had to try and keep it clean because that he still had to make another stop because no way was he taking mediums to the end. So
yeah, definitely. It turns out Ginger had 72% on his tyres and got a puncture. I don't think he'll be too happy about that, but quite a few drivers did benefit, and one of those getting his first podium of the season, so he won't feel as though he's been carried quite as much this time around. It is Toxic, but it's so easily could have been a 1-2 for McLaren.
Yeah, the pits, I got held up, I think it was 3 seconds, and that was the difference between me coming out right behind Ginger and me being held up behind the medium runner and then just being nowhere.
Yeah, you did like you said, did a great job though in the end to catch up with those guys. What happened to you near the end? Because it looked like you were pretty comfortable in what was then third position, but then you seemed to lose about a second and a half on one lap, and when I next went to you, Ferreira was all over the back of you. Was there just a slight mistake from yourself somewhere?
Well, I saw he was catching me and I was low on ERS, low on fuel, and then I made a massive mistake into turn 10, and I was like, okay, I'll let him through and see if I can keep with him, but I just couldn't, and I didn't have the ERS to try and get him. And then when I saw Ginger, like, his puncture, I just immediately backed off, because my tyres were in the 80s, so... yeah.
Yeah, great job from yourself to get that podium, though. Sam, do you have any questions for our probably Constructors Champions of the season?
Well, yeah, for Kalsper now, like, you all you need now to win the championship is 2 points. We say this every week. Like, is this really like almost a certainty now for you, or do you think there is just still a way to go?
With 2 points, like, 2 points to outscore Ginger.
No, you just need to get 2 points in general.
No matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, it's looking very certain now. I can't really, like, lie at this point. Not like I was at all anyway, but it's literally just 9th position, or just 2 10th places, and that's it. So I'm hoping it's achievable, or at least I'd like to hope so. Obviously Canada, one of my weakest tracks, but I'm still hoping to get a decent result there.
Well, yeah, but you need to get 2 points. However, even if you don't get 2 points, Ginger has to win all his races. So, I mean, let's just think about it. Ginger needs to win all his races. You only need 2 points. It doesn't seem likely now, does it, for anything else to happen?
No, it doesn't, which is quite unfortunate, because if Ginger would have not got that puncture, it would have been a whole different story going into the next couple of races.
Is there any plans for celebrations for you two then? Because obviously Constructors could be there as well next week, and if that is the case, you two got any sort of celebration plans perhaps, or is there nothing?
I mean, after a horrible season for me, I think any little victory, even if I did get absolutely carried to the Constructors, I will celebrate.
Yeah, well, you'll have that Constructors name there, so obviously as Constructors champions perhaps next week, and the driver champion as next week, that could be quite interesting to see. But obviously it's not just done just yet, is it? So we cannot be certain just yet, but it's looking pretty sure, isn't it? But that's really all I have to really say. No more questions from me.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Sam. Cheers to the two McLaren drivers as well. Kalsper with a 7th victory of the season from 10 races that he's taken part in, and Toxic getting his first podium as well from 3rd place. And that pretty much means in Canada, barring some shock results, for championships will be decided. But can Kalsper take the Drivers' Championship for himself and the Constructors for McLaren with a win? You'll have to find out next Monday, same time, same place. If you want some more PSGL action, though, make sure to check out the Formula Performance League tomorrow for a first look around Canada, and then the Equal Performance League starts on Thursday and Sunday, and of course on Monday as well. But for myself and Sam, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.